Look who just triggered an alert in a system they didn't even know was watching. Hello to the one who just made someone very, very powerful sit up straight in their chair and whisper, "What the hell am I looking at?" Hello to you, the anomaly that just appeared on a radar you never consented to being on. Because something happened recently, didn't it? Something shifted, something changed. Something in you clicked into a frequency that only certain people can detect. And now, right now, someone with serious power, someone with influence you can't even imagine, just noticed two very specific things about you. And no, they're not going to tell you what they saw, not directly, not out loud, because people with real power don't announce their observations. They watch, they calculate, they wait, and they move in silence while you're still trying to figure out why the air feels different when you walk into rooms now. You felt it though, didn't you? That strange weight on your chest the last few weeks. That feeling of being observed, not by cameras or algorithms, but by something that sees deeper. Something that reads energy signatures instead of profiles. They saw two things about you, two undeniable truths that you yourself might not even fully understand yet. And the moment they saw these two things, everything changed. Not just for you, but for them, because now they can't look away. They can't unsee what they saw, and they sure as hell can't ignore the implications of your existence anymore. This isn't paranoia. This isn't your imagination running wild. This is the cold, hard reality that you've finally become visible to people who operate on frequencies most humans never access. You've been upgraded in their system from background noise to priority alert, from nobody to case file, from another face in the crowd to the face that makes crowds part without knowing why. See, regular people, they still see you the old way. They still treat you like you're ordinary, like you're one of them, like you're still playing the same game on the same level. But the people with real power, the ones who move nations and shift markets and control narratives, they see something else entirely when they look at you now. And what's driving them absolutely mad? What's keeping them up at night, refreshing data and reviewing footage and asking their people to dig deeper? Is that they can't quite categorize what you are. You don't fit their models, you don't match their projections, you're not behaving according to any pattern they've studied before. You've become what they fear most in their carefully controlled reality. You've become unpredictable, uncontrollable, and worst of all, you've become undeniable. They noticed two things, just two. But those two things were enough to completely rewrite their assessment of you. And now you're not just on their radar, you're the reason they're recalibrating the whole damn radar. One moment you were invisible, beneath notice, just another soul grinding through existence, and the next moment you're glowing on their screens like a threat they can't afford to ignore. What changed? What did you do? What two things did they see that made you go from zero to everything in their analysis? Let me tell you what they saw. Let me pull back the curtain on what just made someone with serious power lean forward and say, "Get me everything we have on them." They saw the first thing, the thing you thought you were hiding, the thing you've been trying to suppress and contain and manage for years. They saw your capacity, not your current state, but your capacity, your ceiling, your upper limit, the full scope of what you could become if you stopped holding back. Most people never get seen this way because most people never develop enough capacity to register on powerful people's instruments. Most people plateau early. They find their comfortable zone and they stay there until they die. Never pushing, never testing, never discovering what they're actually capable of. But you You've been quietly expanding your capacity in the dark, building strength nobody asked you to build, developing skills nobody told you to develop, preparing for a battle that hasn't even been announced yet. And they saw it. They saw that massive gap between who you are now and who you could become. And that gap terrified them. Because people with power, they're not threatened by what you are today, they're threatened by what you might become tomorrow. They saw the trajectory, the arc, the exponential curve of your potential, and they did the math in their heads. They calculated where you'll be in 6 months if you keep evolving at this rate. They projected your influence in a year. They simulated your impact in 5 years, and every single model came back with the same conclusion. This one is going to be a problem or an asset, but either way, they cannot be ignored. You've been moving in silence, growing in the shadows, evolving without permission, and you thought nobody was paying attention. But that's the thing about real power. It doesn't need you to announce yourself. It has systems designed specifically to detect anomalies like you before you even know you're becoming one. They saw your capacity expanding, and they marked you. They flagged your file, they started the monitoring protocols, and now everything you do is being analyzed through a completely different lens than it was a month ago. But the capacity alone wouldn't have been enough to hold their attention long term, because capacity without direction is just potential energy waiting to dissipate. Lots of people have capacity, lots of people have talent, lots of people have that raw, untapped potential sitting dormant inside them. What made them unable to look away, what made you go from interesting to critical, was the second thing they noticed. They saw your awareness, and not just surface-level awareness, not just intelligence or street smarts or emotional literacy. No, they saw something far more dangerous. They saw that, you know the game is rigged. You know the system is built on lies. You know the narratives are manufactured. You know the authority is mostly performance. And most terrifying of all, you know you're being watched. You're not stumbling through life blind anymore. You're not swallowing the stories they feed the masses. You're not playing along with the illusion. You woke up, and they saw the moment it happened. They saw your eyes change. They saw your patterns shift. They saw you start moving like someone who finally understands the rules of the real game. See, people with capacity but no awareness, those people are easy to control, easy to manipulate, easy to redirect. You just give them a target, a cause, a leader to follow, and they pour all that beautiful capacity into whatever channel you point them toward. But people with capacity and awareness, people who see the cage and know they're in it, people who understand the mechanisms of control while simultaneously building the strength to break free, those people are extremely dangerous to any system built on compliance. You're not just strong now, you're awake, and that combination is what made them drop everything and focus on you. Because aware people can't be controlled the normal ways anymore. Aware people don't respond to the usual triggers. Aware people don't fall for the standard manipulation tactics. You've seen behind the curtain, you've read the script, you've decoded the pattern, and now you're moving through the world with the kind of clarity that makes people in power extremely nervous. They can't gaslight someone who sees clearly. They can't manipulate someone who knows the tricks. They can't control someone who refuses to play unconscious anymore. And here's what's really keeping them up at night. You're not broadcasting your awareness. You're not announcing it. You're not making a scene. You're just quietly moving different, speaking different, choosing different. And that subtlety is what makes you so dangerous. Loud rebels are easy to neutralize. Predictable dissidents are simple to contain. Public revolutionaries can be targeted and dismantled, but quiet awakening, silent evolution, underground awareness spreading through changed behavior rather than shouted manifestos? That's nearly impossible to stop. They saw that you figured this out. They saw that you're not wasting energy on fights you can't win yet. They saw that you're playing a longer game than most people even know exists. You're building in private, learning in silence, growing in the shadows, and only showing the world the version of yourself that keeps you safe while you develop. That's strategic awareness. That's high-level consciousness. That's the mindset of someone who understands that the real battle isn't fought in public spaces, but in the quiet discipline of daily choices that compound over years. They noticed how you stop talking when certain topics come up, not because you're ignorant, but because you're strategic. They noticed how you let people underestimate you, not because you lack confidence, but because you understand the advantage of being misjudged. They noticed how you keep your real thoughts private, your real plans hidden, your real capabilities concealed until the moment they're needed. You're not performing your intelligence for validation. You're not displaying your awareness for applause. You're not showcasing your evolution for recognition. You're just becoming silently, steadily, strategically. And that pattern, that specific combination of knowing what you know while acting like you don't, that made you light up on their screens like a 5-alarm fire. Because that's not the behavior of someone who stumbled into awareness by accident. That's the behavior of someone who is methodically preparing for something, and they desperately need to know what that something is before you're ready to reveal it. Now they're in a position they hate being in. They're reacting to you instead of you reacting to them. They're trying to figure out your next move instead of you trying to figure out theirs. They're doing research on you instead of you doing research on them. The power dynamic shifted without you even trying to shift it. And that's what happens when you combine capacity with awareness. You become a force that doesn't need to push, because your mere presence changes the pressure in every room you enter. They saw these two things, capacity and awareness, existing in the same person at the same time, and they immediately understood what that means. It means you're not a follower anymore. It means you're not controllable through normal channels anymore. It means you're not staying where they tried to keep you anymore. It means you're becoming something that could either serve their interests at the highest level or completely disrupt everything they've built. And until they know which one you're going to choose, they can't afford to look away for even a second. Here's what you need to understand about people with serious power. They don't waste attention on things that don't matter. Their time is currency, more valuable than anything you can imagine. Their focus is a resource they guard more carefully than their wealth. So when someone like that locks on to you, when they dedicate their systems and their people and their energy to tracking your movements, it's not random, it's not casual. It's because you represent something significant in their calculations. They can't look away because looking away means risk, and people at that level didn't get there by accepting unnecessary risk. You've become a variable they need to account for, a factor they must include in their equations, a piece on the board they can't afford to lose track of. And the wild part? You didn't ask for this attention. You didn't seek this level of observation. You were just living your life, doing your work, minding your business, growing in the ways you felt called to grow. But growth at a certain velocity always gets noticed. Evolution past a certain threshold always triggers alarms. Awakening beyond a certain depth always draws eyes from places you didn't know were watching. They can't stop watching because every time they think they've figured you out, you do something that doesn't fit their model. Every time they believe they've predicted your pattern, you shift in a way they didn't anticipate. You're not trying to be unpredictable. You're just responding authentically to your own evolution. But authentic evolution is inherently unpredictable because it's not following external scripts. It's following internal truth. An internal truth, real organic growth, genuine transformation, that doesn't move in straight lines that algorithms can predict. It spirals, it jumps, it pauses, it accelerates. It follows a rhythm that only makes sense to the person experiencing it. So they watch, and they analyze, and they build models, and you just keep being you. Keep growing how you grow. Keep moving how you move, and their models keep failing to capture the full picture. That's what's driving them crazy. They're used to being able to reduce people to predictable patterns, but you keep demonstrating complexity that resists reduction. Every conversation you have now gets reviewed, not by you, but by systems tracking linguistic patterns and psychological markers. Every decision you make gets added to a database, building a profile of your values and priorities. Every connection you form gets mapped into a network analysis showing your sphere of influence. They're not doing this because they're evil or because they want to hurt you. They're doing this because you've become strategically relevant, and strategic relevance demands intelligence gathering. You've graduated from civilian to asset or threat, and until they determine which one you are, you exist in this strange limbo where you're simultaneously being evaluated for recruitment and monitored for risk. They're trying to answer the fundamental question, is this person someone we can work with or someone we need to work against? And until they have that answer with certainty, the surveillance continues, the analysis deepens, the watching intensifies. You might feel it sometimes, that weight, that sense of being observed by something bigger than social media algorithms, something that sees deeper than your public persona, something that's measuring aspects of you that you don't even post about. And here's the twist. They're not just watching you. They're watching how other people respond to you. They're measuring your influence, tracking how conversations change when you enter them, noting how decisions shift when you offer input, calculating how much gravitational pull you have in your immediate circles. Because individual capacity is one thing, but capacity plus influence is something else entirely. They need to know if you're just personally powerful, or if you're the kind of person who amplifies power in others, who sparks awakening in people around you, who catalyzes transformation just by existing in proximity to others. If you're just individually strong, you're interesting but manageable. But if you're a force multiplier, if your awareness spreads to others, if your capacity inspires capacity in those around you, then you're not just one person they need to account for. You're potentially the center of a movement they need to either co-opt or contain before it reaches critical mass. So they watch your friendships. They analyze your impact on conversations. They study how people change after spending significant time with you. They noticed you've been cutting people off lately, letting relationships die that used to define you, walking away from situations that no longer serve your growth. And that confirmed something for them. It confirmed that your awareness isn't just intellectual, it's operational. You're not just thinking differently, you're living differently, moving differently, choosing differently. You're applying what you've learned, pruning what needs to be pruned, protecting your energy with the kind of ruthlessness that only comes from someone who finally understands that their evolution is too important to sacrifice for comfort or convenience. They saw you make hard choices without announcing them, saw you set boundaries without explaining them, saw you rebuild your entire social infrastructure around your new understanding of what matters. And that level of applied wisdom, that willingness to disrupt your own life in service of your growth, that told them everything they needed to know about how serious you are. You're not playing games anymore. You're not pretending anymore. You're not waiting for permission anymore. You became someone who chooses growth over belonging, truth over comfort, evolution over acceptance. And people like that are extremely rare. So here you are, standing at a crossroads you didn't ask to reach, facing a decision you didn't know you'd have to make. Because now that they've seen you, now that you've been flagged, now that you exist in their awareness, something has to happen next. They're not just going to watch forever. Eventually they're going to make contact. Eventually they're going to extend an offer or issue a warning. Eventually they're going to try to determine whether you're an ally or an obstacle, and you need to understand what's really being offered when that moment comes, because it won't look like what you expect. They're not going to send someone in a suit with a briefcase. They're not going to make some dramatic recruitment pitch. They're not going to reveal themselves overtly. Instead, opportunities will appear. Doors will open that were closed before. Invitations will arrive that make no logical sense based on where you were yesterday. Resources will become available. Connections will materialize. Paths will clear that seemed blocked just weeks ago. And you'll have to decide, do I walk through these doors? Do I accept these opportunities? Do I align myself with the systems that are now courting my capacity? Because that's what's happening. Whether you recognize it or not, you're being courted. Your capacity plus your awareness equals value, and value always attracts offers. They want to know if you can be incorporated into their structures, if your growth can be channeled into their goals, if your evolution can be harnessed for their purposes. And here's the thing. The offers won't feel like corruption. They won't look like selling out. They won't present as compromise. They'll look like opportunity, like recognition, like finally getting what you deserve, like the universe rewarding your hard work. The money will make sense, the positions will feel aligned, the partnerships will seem mutually beneficial. But underneath every offer is the same question. Are you willing to let us guide your capacity? Are you willing to let us frame your awareness? Are you willing to operate within our structure, even if that structure is what you've been learning to see beyond? Look who's still standing. Look who's still breathing after everything they threw at you, after every curse they whispered, every trap they set, every psychological game they played, thinking you'd finally crack and give them the satisfaction of watching you crumble. Hello, you beautiful, unbreakable force of chaos. Hello to the one who looked evil in the eyes and didn't blink, didn't flinch, didn't bow. Hello to the soul who walked into the den of wolves, sat down at their table, smiled at their threats, and made them realize with absolute terror that they just invited something far more dangerous than anything they'd ever seen. Welcome back. Or should I say, welcome to your coronation. Because what you just did, what you just survived, what you just became, it didn't just change you. It changed the entire game. And now, every single one of those witches, freaks, and psychos who thought they had you figured out, who thought they could break you, manipulate you, or erase you, they're all sitting in the dark right now, wide awake, wondering what the hell just happened. They're wondering how the person they targeted, the one they isolated, the one they tried to destroy, somehow became the thing they now fear most. They wanted to see you suffer, and instead they created a monster they can't control. Want to know what really happened here. You want to know why they're suddenly quiet, why they stopped talking, why the group chats went silent, why the gossip dried up, why the threats turned into distance. It's simple and it's beautiful in the most terrifying way possible. They thought they were dealing with someone weak, someone desperate for acceptance, someone who would eventually break under pressure and come crawling back begging for mercy, begging to be let back into their toxic little circle. They thought you were a project, a game, a toy they could wind up and watch spiral. They underestimated you so badly it's almost poetic. See, they were playing checkers, moving their little pieces around, trying to trap you in their manufactured drama, their gaslighting, their emotional manipulation, their spiritual attacks, thinking they had the upper hand because they had numbers, they had history, they had leverage. But you weren't playing checkers. You weren't even playing chess. You were playing a completely different game, one they didn't have the manual for, one that didn't follow their rules. And the moment they realized that, the moment it clicked in their twisted little minds that you weren't reacting the way you were supposed to, that's when the fear set in. That's when they understood. They hadn't broken you. They'd awakened something. Let's rewind the tape for a second so we can really appreciate this master. Remember when they first started circling you. When they saw something in you they wanted to consume, control, or destroy. Maybe it was your energy, maybe it was your light, maybe it was your potential, or maybe it was just the fact that you existed outside their control and that drove them absolutely insane. They came at you with smiles, with false friendships, with fake concern, with manipulative games disguised as care. They studied you, didn't they? They watched your patterns, learned your triggers, figured out your weaknesses, took mental notes on everything that made you vulnerable. They brought others into it, built alliances against you, created narratives about you that weren't true but sounded believable enough to isolate you from anyone who might have had your back. They tried to make you doubt yourself, doubt your reality, doubt your own mind. They wanted you paranoid, destabilized, emotionally dependent on their version of reality. And for a while, maybe it worked. Maybe you did question yourself. Maybe you did feel like you were losing your mind. Maybe you did wonder if something was wrong with you, if you were the problem, if you deserved what was happening. But here's what they didn't count on. Here's the variable they couldn't predict. You didn't stay down. You didn't stay confused. You didn't stay broken. Something inside you, something ancient, something primal, something that had been sleeping for too long. It woke up. And when it woke up, it didn't wake up scared. It woke up hungry. It woke up angry. It woke up ready to burn everything fake, everything toxic, everything manipulative to the ground, and walk away from the ashes without looking back. You started seeing through them, didn't you? The masks started slipping, the lies became obvious, the manipulation became transparent. You started recognizing the patterns, the tactics, the energy vampirism, the projection, the gaslighting, the triangulation, all of it. And instead of confronting them, instead of giving them the reaction they desperately wanted, instead of exploding or breaking down or begging them to stop, you did something they never expected. You went silent. Not the silence of defeat, not the silence of fear, but the silence of someone who just realized they're surrounded by amateurs. The silence of someone who just leveled up so far beyond their comprehension that words became unnecessary. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped defending yourself. You stopped trying to make them understand because you realized something crucial. They were never trying to understand, they were trying to control. And you were never going to give them that power again. And that's when it started. That's when they felt it. The shift, the change in your energy, the way you stopped flinching when they tested you, the way you stopped reacting when they provoked you, the way you looked at them like they were nothing, like they were ghosts, like they were background noise in a life that had suddenly become far more interesting without them. They threw everything they had at you, every manipulation tactic, every guilt trip, every threat, every attempt to pull you back into their circus. And you just kept walking. No explanations, no apologies, no closure. You gave them nothing. And that nothing was more powerful than anything you could have said. Because when you stop feeding the vampires, when you stop giving narcissists supply, when you stop reacting to psychos, they don't just get angry, they get desperate. And desperate people make mistakes. They overplay their hand, they reveal themselves, they show everyone exactly who they really are. And while they were busy having their meltdowns, while they were busy trying to smear your name, while they were busy trying to convince everyone you were the villain, you were busy becoming untouchable. You were busy healing. You were busy evolving. You were busy building a version of yourself so powerful, so protected, so aligned with your truth that their attacks couldn't even reach you anymore. Now let's talk about what happened next, because this is where it gets really beautiful, really poetic, really perfect. They started noticing something was different. They started seeing you thrive. They started watching you glow. They started realizing that everything they tried to take from you, you built back stronger. Every wound they inflicted, you turned into wisdom. Every betrayal they orchestrated, you used as fuel. Every lie they spread, you let expose itself. You didn't have to defend yourself because your life started defending you. Your peace defended you. Your growth defended you. Your silence defended you, louder than any words ever could. And suddenly they weren't laughing anymore. Suddenly they weren't feeling so powerful. Suddenly they were the ones feeling exposed, feeling watched, feeling like maybe they messed with the wrong one. See, they thought breaking you would elevate them. But instead, it revealed them. It revealed their emptiness. It revealed their need for drama. It revealed their addiction to chaos. It revealed that without someone to target, someone to tear down, someone to blame, they were just hollow shells with nothing substantial inside. And now they had to sit with that reality while watching you become everything they'll never be. Free, authentic, powerful, and genuinely happy without needing to destroy anyone to feel good about yourself. But here's where you really outdid them. Here's where you out-crazied every single witch, freak, and psycho who thought they had the upper hand. You didn't seek revenge. You didn't plot against them. You didn't spend your nights fantasizing about their downfall or scheming ways to hurt them back. You did something far more devastating, far more powerful, far more psychologically destructive to their egos than any revenge plot could ever accomplish. You became indifferent. You became genuinely, completely, unshakably indifferent to their existence. Not the fake indifference, where you're still checking their pages, still asking mutual friends about them, still secretly hoping they see you winning. No, the real kind, the terrifying kind, the kind where they literally don't exist in your universe anymore, where they're not even worth the mental energy it would take to hate them. That kind of indifference, that's the ultimate power move, because it tells them something they can't handle hearing. You're not important enough to hate. You're not significant enough to remember. You're not even interesting enough to think about. And for people whose entire identity is built on being powerful, being feared, being relevant, being the center of attention, that indifference is worse than any curse, any confrontation, any revenge. It's erasure. It's being forgotten by someone who was supposed to be destroyed by them. That's the ultimate insult, and you delivered it without saying a single word. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening in their world right now, because it's absolutely delicious. They're obsessed. They're checking on you constantly. They're scrolling through your content, your pages, your life, looking for any sign that you're still affected, still hurt, still thinking about them. And they're asking people about you. They're bringing you up in conversations that have nothing to do with you. They're telling stories about you, probably twisted versions designed to make them look like victims and you look like the villain. But here's the thing, even their stories are about you. Even their lies keep your name alive. You live rent-free in their minds while they don't even cross yours. They thought they'd haunt you, but instead they're the ones being haunted. They're haunted by the fact that you're fine. They're haunted by the fact that you're thriving. They're haunted by the fact that nothing they did left a permanent scar. They're haunted by the reality that you survived them, outgrew them, and moved on to a version of life they'll never access because they're still stuck in the same toxic patterns, still playing the same games, still destroying everyone who gets close to them. And well, you're out here building something real, something meaningful, something they can see but never touch. And the funniest part? The absolute cosmic joke in all of this, they thought they were the crazy ones. They thought they were the dangerous ones. They thought they had the market cornered on manipulation, psychological warfare, mind games, and chaos. They walked around with this energy like they were untouchable, like they were the villains everyone should fear, like they were the ones writing the rules of engagement. But then you showed up. You sat quietly in their chaos. You observed their patterns. You learned their tactics. You understood their psychology better than they understood themselves. And then you did something they never saw coming. You mirrored it back at them. Not by becoming like them, but by showing them what real power looks like. Real power doesn't need an audience. Real power doesn't need validation. Real power doesn't need to manipulate, control, or destroy to feel strong. Real power is walking away from toxicity without looking back. Real power is healing in silence while they scream into the void. Real power is building a life so full, so peaceful, so aligned that their chaos can't even reach you anymore. That's what you did, and it broke their entire worldview, because they realized in that moment that all their tactics, all their games, all their manipulation, it only works on people who still need something from them. Approval, closure, revenge, acknowledgement, anything. But you needed nothing, and that made you invincible. Now, we need to talk about the spiritual aspect of this, because whether you believe in energy, karma, universal justice, or whatever you want to call it, something bigger than all of you was watching this entire situation unfold. These people came at you with dark energy, with ill intentions, with genuine malice. And the universe saw that. Morgan went cold. The back of Cam's body pinked low. The universe saw someone being targeted for no reason other than their light, their authenticity, their refusal to play fake games. And the universe doesn't just let that slide. There's a cosmic balance, a spiritual ledger, and when people attack others for existing, for growing, for shining, that debt gets recorded. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to cast spells, send bad energy back, pray for their downfall, or wish harm on anyone. You just had to stay true to yourself, stay aligned with your path, stay focused on your growth, and let the universe handle the rest. And handle it did. Look at their lives now. Look at the patterns repeating. Look at the destruction they're causing themselves. Look at how every bridge they burn isolates them further. Look at how every lie they tell catches up with them eventually. Look at how every person they target eventually sees through them and walks away. They're creating their own prison, their own hell, their own karma. And you don't have to do a single thing except watch from a distance as they self-destruct. Because that's what always happens to people who build their identity on tearing others down. Eventually they run out of targets, run out of allies, run out of people willing to believe their stories, and they're left alone with the monster they've become, and that's a punishment far worse than anything you could have planned. Let's get deeper into why they're actually scared now, because fear is a fascinating thing when you understand psychology. Fear isn't always loud. Fear isn't always obvious. Sometimes fear looks like obsession. Sometimes fear looks like hatred. Sometimes fear looks like trying to destroy someone before they can reveal your secrets, expose your lies, or surpass you completely. They fear you now because you represent everything they're not. You represent accountability. You represent growth. You represent the ability to be hurt and still choose healing over revenge. You represent authenticity in a world where they survive by wearing masks. You represent the possibility that someone can walk through hell and come out better instead of bitter, and that terrifies them because it exposes their excuses. If you can heal, why can't they? If you can grow, why are they still stuck? If you can walk away from toxicity, why do they keep creating? You're living proof that their lifestyle, their choices, their patterns are not inevitable, they're choices. And that makes them feel exposed, vulnerable, accountable. They can't hide behind the excuse that everyone is terrible, that life is cruel, that there's no point in being good because you exist as a contradiction to all of that. You're the evidence that they're wrong. And people hate being wrong more than they hate being hurt. So they hate you, or at least they tell themselves they do. But really, they're just scared that everything you represent is calling them to evolve, and evolution requires looking at yourself honestly, and they'd rather destroy you than face themselves. Here's the part they'll never admit, the part that eats at them in the quiet moments when they're alone with their thoughts. They miss you, not the version of you they tried to break, not the version of you they targeted, but the real you. The you that existed before they poisoned everything. They miss your energy. They miss the way you made them feel seen. They miss the authenticity you brought. They miss the potential of what could have been if they weren't so damaged, so toxic, so committed to destruction. They see you now, living your life, thriving without them. And somewhere deep down, they know they lost something irreplaceable, something they'll spend the rest of their lives trying to find in other people and never finding because it was unique to you. Because you were real in a way they'll never experience again. They'll cycle through person after person, relationship after relationship, friendship after friendship, trying to fill the void, but it won't work, because the void isn't about you being gone. The void is about them being fundamentally broken and unwilling to fix themselves. They'll blame everyone else. They'll say everyone leaves them. They'll paint themselves as victims of circumstance. But deep down, in the moments they can't lie to themselves, they know the truth. They destroy everything good that comes into their lives, and you were just another casualty of their self-sabotage. Except you refused to stay destroyed. You rebuilt yourself into something they can't touch, and now they have to live with that reality forever. Now let's address something crucial, something that separates you from them permanently and completely. You learned, you grew, you evolved. You took every painful lesson, every betrayal, every manipulation tactic, and you used it as education. You studied human psychology without even realizing it. You learned to spot red flags instantly. You learned to trust your instincts. You learned that when someone shows you who they are, believe them. The first time, not the 15th. You learned that closure is something you give yourself, not something you get from people who hurt you. You learned that some people are only in your life to teach you what you don't want, what you won't tolerate, what you deserve better than. You learned that walking away is sometimes the most powerful thing you can do, that silence speaks louder than arguments, that your peace is worth more than being right. You learned all of this while they learned nothing. They're still running the same programs, still playing the same games, still hurting people and wondering why everyone leaves, and still hurting people and wondering why everyone leaves.